is Ramata Kintala, and I'm excited to introduce today Lydia Peabody. Lydia thrives at the intersection of leadership and technical challenges. She brings over 15 years of experience in professional development, coaching, and quality improvement to her recent roles in data and software. Today, Lydia would be sharing our knowledge in strengthening technical teams through group development models. Whether you are a team leader or you are not a team lead, this talk is going to be very insightful for everyone. Gladly join me in welcoming Lydia Peabody.
Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to join you at PyLadies Con 2025 to spend a little bit of time thinking about how we support our technical teams through an understanding of group development models. And whether this is something brand new to you or something you've been thinking about before, hopefully we can learn something new about how we can help all our teams work well. A little bit about me and why this topic is of interest to me. I have a very mixed background in technical team management, but also in data science and analytics. And prior to that, I spent many years working in various areas around system quality improvement, education, STEM education, adult education, youth development and training. So I've done lots and lots of team building activities, team building focused spaces where we're really thinking about how do we help a group come together. I'm not on social media much, but you can certainly find me on LinkedIn. In my current role as a team manager at Planet Innovation, it's particularly kind of inspiring from this perspective of that interaction between people and technical, because as a consultancy, our teams may only be working together for a few weeks to a few months. So we need to figure out how do we help the team get the most out of this time together, and then be prepared to split up and maybe be in a team with someone completely different, working in a completely different tech stack on their next project. One of the things that's important to recognize that comes out of that is that change impacts team function. Teams don't just form ready to deliver. And when there is a lot of change in the environment they're working in, the impacts are sometimes predictable. The more we know about these group development models, the better we can predict the impact of change, but also we need to be prepared for the unexpected. We're working with people and lots of different reactions are possible. So to help us understand how to help teams work in these dynamic environments, which pretty much everything is a dynamic environment, we're going to look at the Tuckman model of group dynamics. We're going to look at it's a model built of different stages. So we'll look at tips for how to work with a team and as part of a team in each stage. And then we'll look at a few case studies, is probably a bit strong, but examples of what these changes can look like and what we can do about it as either a team member or leader. So here's our model of group development. This is Tuckman's model of group development that he developed around 1965, and he developed it not by doing research on a particular group, but by reviewing literature across a wide range of contexts. So this is consistent, whether you're working with a sports team, a business team, a gardening club. This is a really standard process that he was seeing across almost all groups. And it has this forming, storming, norming, performing, warning. We'll get into what all of those mean next to get an idea. But the point is that this is a healthy process. And if what we want is for our team to be in that performing stage for as long as possible, we need to understand the rest of the stages so we can help them transition into that space. So let's start at the beginning. For most teams, which is the forming stage, certainly teams can wander through these stages, be bumped back. It's not always directly linear. But when you bring a new team together, you're going to start out with forming. And it really is about establishing relationships. Tends to be people are a little nervous. They're a little cautious. So it's much more friendly, polite, and positive with whatever norms are relevant to the context this group is operating in are likely to be observed. Individuals are really focused on how do I fit here? What is my place in this team? For us as team members and team leaders, we want to help you get to know each other, like maybe I'm not a leader, but I can say, hey, anyone want to go to lunch today? And that actually helps the team start to work together because we're building those informal interactions. And as a leader, you want to facilitate those kind of activities. It doesn't necessarily mean running a million name games or getting to know you games. Those can damage relationships if they're not very carefully selected, but providing direction and guidance so that people naturally are working together, they're pairing on things, they're developing a guide together or working through a guide together so that they're naturally getting to know each other in the context of what they're doing can be really helpful. Once we've gotten to know each other a little bit and we get a little bit more comfortable, then we start seeing a little bit different dynamic where things get adversarial, confrontational. And what's happening here is individuals are really trying to understand, what am I going to contribute to this team? And ooh, does that person over there want to contribute the same thing that I want to contribute? Is that going to work for me? I don't know. I need to test out if they work how I work. Can I work together with them? Do I really need to own this and make sure that it's my thing and not their thing? So it's still this very me focused of, what am I going to be doing here? How am I adding value? What status do I have here? How am I going to get respect? You can get that sparring kind of feeling. And this can feel uncomfortable for people, but it's important to note it's a normal, healthy part of the process. And in groups where this is squashed a little bit too much, where people really value worry about that tension and therefore try to smooth over this sort of conflict, it actually tends to hold the teams back because it limits them really finding their own natural hierarchies and roles, and it limits the communication patterns that develop. So instead, we want to focus on allowing groups to work through this challenge positively with that skill in listening and clarifying, in providing coaching so people can move towards productive conflict resolution. And again, this can be done by a leader, but I also, as a team member, can listen to others and help them hear each other better, help them hear what each other is saying, clarify for them. So this is something that doesn't have to be top down. All of these can be done by any member within the team. We can all work to really develop communication and trust in terms of providing respectful communication, establishing those respectful communication patterns, and working to clarify, why are we here? What are we doing? What are we delivering? If we can get that clarity of purpose, then it really helps to move away from what do I bring to how are we accomplishing this thing we've agreed on. So as we work through those, hopefully we start to have some agreement on some of those pieces and what things are going to look like, and we get through to norming. And we are then starting to feel a bit more normal. We have ways of working, we have processes, we have a bit more ordered, predictable work. We start to understand our routines. Maybe everyone's comfortable with our agile sprint processes, if that's how we're working. Maybe it's just that we know, am I supposed to reach out on Teams or Slack or email, or when do I use different channels? So those things are starting to become routine. They're easier to work with. And really importantly, there's this shared understanding and acceptance of the different hierarchies that are out there. So this both includes official roles, who's the architect, who's the team lead, who's the tester, but it also is unofficial roles. Who's that person who really picks us up, cheers us up when we're feeling stressed? Who's the person who's always ready to get people out to lunch? Who is it that actually has that depth of technical expertise that I go to with questions, even though they don't want to put their hand up to be the architect? We start to know who those people are, and that helps us be able to then shift to focusing on, what are the goals? What was that shared purpose that we were slowly coming to during the storming phase? And what are the tasks that we need to do to get there? So during norming, it starts to be a little bit more facilitative. We don't have to direct so much. We just need to support, guide, provide feedback, keep people moving in the same direction. And a lot of it is about now making sure we have the competence and the skills we need. So there may be more training and review and getting team members to work together on figuring out who has the expertise and how we transfer that across the whole team. So there are lots of roles that will naturally encourage during this time or naturally emerge, and encouraging those rather than trying to control them lets the team work better together. So that's a really valuable thing to sort of recognize. If people seem to be doing something, can I encourage them to do that rather than try to sort of formulate a structure on top of it? So hopefully, as we get more and more of that focus on tasks, we understand how things work. It lets us move into performing, where we really are now seeing a high-performing team, very collaborative, able to work on complex, difficult problems. And this doesn't mean that we agree with everyone. It means that we're able to have really strong conversations and even disagreements about different ideas and ways of doing things. But because we're committed to team success instead of individual success, those become really positive and proactive, because what we want and the reason we're having those discussions is to find the best way of moving the team forward. And that means if my way isn't the best way, I'm much more able to accept that when I see what's best for the team, because that's what I really want. This is when we see people willing to do what's needed, not what's on their job description, and really pick up different things. There's a lot. Sometimes it feels easy, whether you're a team member or a leader in these groups, because the goal is to get out of the way, let things flow, delegate, let people do good work. One thing we can do, particularly as managers or leaders, is to make sure that planning is done well so the team continues to have clarity on their tasks and their work and what's needed to go to continue. But starting to get in those bits of where we're providing recognition for good work that's being done by individuals and by the team can be really valuable as well. But primarily, we just need to get out of the way at this point and let everyone get on with what they're doing. At some point, though, the team's work usually comes to an end. And this can be that we get to successful completion of a project. It can be that the budget for our program was cut and our team ended really quickly with no notice whatsoever. It can be, it's getting a bit smaller because we're in more of a maintenance phase and a few team members are dropping off. There's a lot of variations on what this can look like, and it's really important. It can be stressful for people. Even in a team where we've been really successful, it can be sad because you're going to miss working with that group and the feeling of working on that project. So it's really important during this time to review the team's time together. Retrospectives and sprint processes in general, agile processes, tend to do really well at helping move the team through some of these different stages. Recognizing what's been accomplished, going out to lunch, having a celebration, all those classic things really do help the team recognize, yes, we've accomplished something here, and now I feel like I'm ready to work on. And it's also important to acknowledge sadness and disappointment, whether that's because of a project that didn't come to a successful conclusion or simply because people are going to miss the team. Acknowledging those and recognizing that they are normal and healthy and totally okay makes it easier for people to then move on and accept whatever they need to do next. So now that we know a little bit about the theory, let's have a look at a few examples. Your team is finally working well together, but you discover the tech stack you chose isn't up to the job and need to pivot. We have occasional ones in my work where we were told that the product we were developing had no real-time sensitivity, so we started with a C# on Windows solution, and then we were told, actually, we do need real-time responsiveness, so suddenly maybe we want C++ on Linux instead. That's a pretty big difference. And what we see is that can lead to loss of clarity and objective. We literally no longer know what we're building. We don't know what our roles are. I was the architect in a C# project. I don't know if I even belong on this team anymore. I've lost confidence that my skills are valuable. So we're like Little Ann back at Storming, where we're assuming we're keeping the same team, trying to figure out, well, given everything that's changed, what does that mean? How do I add value here? So if we're really focusing back on those strategies of coordinating clear trainings, communicating expectations, we know there was already trust and communication in this team. How are we using that to really get clear on what is our new objective and why do we think this team can still deliver on it? Another example, you're working well, your senior developer's been great, therefore the big new project is going to steal them. So this idea of like, oh, we can just swap in with someone with the same skill set. We're solving the technical problem of I need a developer with these skills, but it doesn't solve the real problem of I need a team that can solve this problem together. So this one you're likely to land back at forming. That's not too bad. We can usually, if we're intentional about making sure the new team member is integrated, they get to know the processes, they get to know the new team members. Often it's a great strategy to have different team members provide onboarding for different pieces so they're naturally getting to know lots of different people and their strengths and skills. Another one, maybe we've got some big scope change, in this case in the form of needing to deliver 30% earlier than we had planned. Well, all right, I guess we can probably do that. Assuming that they're not actually giving you more team, I mean, it could go either you've got expansion of the team and you're going back to forming, or you're not expanding the team and you've got major concerns about whether the team can succeed. So either way, you're going to land somewhere back between forming and storming. And you really want to think about how are we encouraging initially, like letting people express what they're concerned about, but then working towards how do we work away from just that sort of complaint view and clarify what's behind the decision, clarify what we're really building, ask for ideas and options, get people focused on how do we deal with this change positively and really recognize the people who are able to move towards that question of, all right, we've got a new challenge. How do we solve that? But it is going to take that time to work through, well, what does that mean for my role in the team? Can I still play the same role? Do I need to play a different role? Are there new people who are going to take my role so that I can do something else that I'm faster at? There's a lot of questions that have to be worked through there. The short version to take away from this is that teams and groups are continuously shifting stage in response to changes. So we think, great, I've got my team running, I'm good to go. But you got to be continuously monitoring. Do I hear a little bit more of that? Ooh, we've got some new scope and a couple of people want to be covering that, so they're vying a little bit for that role. How do I help that conversation move along so we can get to a positive resolution? And understanding where your group is at, being able to recognize those shifts can really help us work through that. I really do enjoy thinking about this kind of stuff. If you have found this interesting, please do reach out. I'd love to chat more and appreciate all of you being here with me today.
Thank you so much, Lydia, for such an insightful and practical session. We've been really able to understand how group development models can help improve our technical team expertise. I hope everyone else has found this session insightful. I really did, and thank you so much for your talk today. Bye.